I'll try not to.
All right, here we go. Oh, all right. It's telling me we're live. Let me confirm on my page. What's up, Facebook? If you're out there watching this live, or maybe you're grabbing the replay of it. Here we go. Yes. If you are watching the replay, you might want to go ahead and skip forward about 20 seconds or so before we get rolling here. But I've got it pulled up. And Steve, if you want to do it now, feel free. Otherwise, worry about that later. But while we do that and get all of our tech sorted out, those of you that are familiar with this is the Broker Showdown. And if this is your first time attending or tuning into what the heck is this Broker Showdown thing? Well, real quick, what it is I love interviewing leaders like my special guest today, Steve Case. We'll give him a proper intro in a minute and just highlight people that are doing big things, helping a lot of people along the way. We want to give them the featured spotlight so everybody knows who they are. Follow Steve, follow our prior guests, and that's the whole deal here, right? We want to add value to your day, value to your business, and that's the number one goal by doing this. Now, the rules of the game of the Broker Showdown really are, there are no rules other than 3 questions each, anything goes. So like, I have no idea coming into this what Steve's going to ask me, right? So it's a little bit edgy, kind of fun on the fly. You just got to answer and riff accordingly with the live Facebook world watching us. So
I don't know if you're ready for this.
I don't know, man. It's getting me a little edge on my seat here. So let me just give a proper intro and I'll let Steve do his formal one as well. But just on a personal note, so I've been running with Steve and Acropolis Realty Group now for a number of years, frankly, and they're based out of Syracuse, New York. Shout out to all of you, ARG, and I believe a location down in Tampa, Florida. So Steve being the founder, owner of the whole operation, man, I was able to come out there in person and spend time with him, his agents, and the entire staff. And it is one of the best trips I've ever had. He is the type of guy that'll give you everything he's got and then some. He's a servant-driven leader, incredibly abundant mindset. And that is why I've always been drawn to him. And I know he's busy as heck doing a zillion different things, but he always makes time. And here we are as evidence of that. So Steve, thank you for being a part of my world, our world, and I'm excited to learn from you today.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm bringing you everywhere I go for that intro. That was awesome. Thank you.
Let's go. Well, tell us real quick, just anything that I maybe left out about the brokerage, how long you've been going, anything else you're up to, feel free.
Yeah, man. No, that's great. So started Acropolis Realty Group 10 years ago. We just hit our 10-year anniversary last August. So super excited. I actually just met with somebody who said, Steve, like I and all of my colleagues never thought Acropolis was going to make it past 3 years. And these have been people that have been in the business 40, 50 years. And I'm like, like I actually walked away and I'm like, that was a compliment. Like, I think he was trying to give me a little backhanded compliment there. And he goes, we've seen what you guys have done. So it's a huge milestone for us. And it really allowed me to take a step back and realize like, wow, like this is what we've built. Like it was such a fun ride and there's still so much more left to do. But we started Acropolis back in 2015. Just me and TJ Perkins. He was my student when I was teaching up at Whitman, brought him on board. So it was just the two of us and then kind of grew it from there. And my background's more in commercial leasing and sales. And like all my students, TJ wanted to make millions of dollars selling commercial real estate. And then I realized that when there's no money coming in, you really need to go start to make some commissions quick. And the money goes fast when there's no sales coming in. I was focused on starting and growing a business. I'm like, TJ, you got to go sell some houses. And he made like 20 grand his first couple of months out of college. He's like, I love residential real estate. And so that's kind of how we got started. And it just kind of grew from there. And I think we're about 125 agents as we sit here today.
That's amazing. Congratulations. And what a journey. And TJ is awesome. So TJ, if you happen to see this, shout out to him. You guys I love the leadership team there. Obviously Kristen and so many others that are carrying the day to day. So
for sure.
Very good. So man, this is a lot of fun. Give us a sense of just kind of where the brokerage is now, what your goals are, maybe just in the more immediate future this year. What are you guys striving for? And then I promise we'll get started on the official questions.
Yeah, for sure. I think this year our goal is to open up a couple, I guess I'll call it more suburban offices.
Okay.
Our MO for the last 10 years has been, we've got this really cool, centrally located downtown office, and it's been great.
It's
It's a really
beautiful, by the way. That is
cool
a really
office.
cool spot.
But as I've, gotten older, I realized there's a lot of agents and clients and customers that don't love coming downtown and parking downtown. So I think that may have restricted us a little bit in the past. So we opened up an office in Auburn, New York, which is about a 45-minute drive from Syracuse. And I realized quickly, like, wow, like it's not a huge lift to have a couple of satellite offices. So we just signed another lease in Manlius, which is east side of Syracuse, and the goal will be to open up 1 or 2 more offices by the end of the year.
Man, I'm learning. I did not know that. Shame
Yeah.
on me for not being completely in the know there. But that's freaking awesome, man. That's exciting. I love the expansion plans.
Who knew
and
parking was so important to agents?
Well, that was a thing when I was there visiting in person, actually. So I can
Yeah, it
understand
depends.
that.
Sometimes it's a little difficult to park downtown. So
Yeah, that office is really cool though, and I remember Kristen taking me up to the rooftop.
yeah,
Just really neat. But
it's
anyways,
great. I mean, we had the St. Patty's Day parade overlooking
yep,
Salina Street. It was pretty cool.
yep. Okay, all right. Are we ready? You ready to get
I'm
started?
ready.
Officially?
I'm ready.
Okay,
Let's do it.
I get to go first because this is my TV show. All right,
That's fair.
so I'm going to
I'll
ask
allow it.
you the first question.
Perfect.
So my first question is this: like, I'll use myself as the guinea pig. Pretend that I am an agent local to Syracuse. All right, I'm considering making a move, switching companies, and I want you, in your own words, your own way, to give me like your condensed version of what is your unique value proposition as to why an agent like me would consider joining your brokerage, and doing so, of course, not that you would, but doing so without disparaging anybody else. So again, what is essentially your unique value proposition, why somebody like me would want to join, and take it where you want as far as also the ideal agents that you tend to look for and who tend to thrive at Acropolis?
Sure. Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think most importantly is the company culture that we have. And the culture is so important that a lot of agents don't realize what they're missing. And we've attracted like-minded individuals that have come to Acropolis, and everybody's a team player. We only bring on team players, and I've seen agents that are top producers spending their time and helping the brand new agents write a contract, and it's so awesome to see. And I can't take any credit for it. Just kind of happened organically, and we started with a great core group of agents, and it just attracted more like-minded agents. So I think first and foremost, I think company culture is our main selling point. We obviously are the young, hip, cool company that have stayed up on all the technology. So we've got a great tech stack now. And AI is the wave of the future. So we've spent a lot of time making sure that we were ready for this, and we're rolling out a couple really cool things next week at our monthly meeting that I can't wait to share with all the agents. So everybody's super excited about the tech stack that we're rolling out next month. And I think on top of that, we can be competitive. We're local, we're independent, we give back to the community. So we're involved in a ton of nonprofits. We do a lot of charity work, we do a lot of volunteer work, and the agents that we have love to give back. So I think that's the biggest thing, is we can be competitive with commission splits, company culture, and just when people come into the office, you could feel the energy and the buzz surrounding Acropolis. It's great.
Not that there's like a grading scale here, but back at you. Great answer to the question. And here, I just want to digress for a second. This is one of the questions I love asking leaders like you, and it's very telling in how you answer it. And in my view, you pass the test, rave reviews. And here's why. A couple of years ago, I went on a mission and I interviewed 100 broker owners not affiliated with my locker room at all. I wanted outside perspectives, and I asked them a series of questions, kind of a focus group, if you will. One of those questions is the very question I just asked you. And probably not surprisingly, most answered, what is our value proposition, with things like caps and splits and cheap fees and revenue shares and profit shares and all that stuff. And it was very eye-opening to me that actually that's not a unique value proposition at all, because I could start a brokerage tomorrow and duplicate all of that. Now, those of you listening, did you hear any of that? Maybe at the very tail end, he said something about competitive splits, but did you hear any of that in Steve's answer just now? Nope. He said culture, team players, tech forward, agent centric, community involvement. Those are the reasons that you've grown the way you have. Those are the reasons an agent should want to consider joining your brokerage. No mention of splits and caps, which, by the way, I know are more than generous and competitive, but it wasn't in your answer. And I think that's extremely telling. So my question, follow-up question, because I'm allowed, is
I'll allow it.
what inspired that approach? Like, you have such a strong cultural, cutting edge, tech forward approach. Was there something that inspired that? Or
I get this question a lot, and
Okay.
I think I have the benefit of not coming from a big box brokerage background, right?
Okay.
I didn't know what I didn't know, and I started this thing, and I'm like, all right, let's figure it out. And I was like, what do agents want? And I wish that I could take more credit for it, but I really can't. The only thing that I can attribute this to is that core group of people year one. And we attracted the right people when we first got started, which attracted more of a like-minded individual. And we just grew it. And it's like, there's always going to be, when you get to a size of 120 agents, there's always going to be something, office drama or whatever. And Kristen says this best, and she's like, no jerks allowed. And I think we've really clung on to that motto. And like, if you take a look at all of the agents that we have on, there's no jerks. They're all really, really good people, and it attracts more good people. And I wish that I could take credit for it. Average age in the office is maybe 27, 28 years old. I'm the dinosaur. So it's funny. And we have some older agents, but are young at heart. And like, they feel like they're 27, 28 years old. So this culture just kind of happened organically, and I wish that I could take more credit for you and tell you how we were able to do it. But I think it just was that core group of agents that attracted more like-minded agents.
Well, and I hear you. So just follow-up point to that. I think you deserve the credit for it. And here's what I mean when I say that is, yeah, maybe it wasn't like some full-blown thought-out plan, but what I heard is alignment matters. Who you're in business with matters. Starting with that right core group who attracted other like-minded people, you deserve credit because you held the line, you held the standard. You yourself, speed of the leader, speed of the team, attracted those people to begin with. You deserve all that credit, right? And then it just duplicates and multiplies from there. So there is something in there, whether you want to give yourself credit for it or not. And you do have some pretty awesome agents, and it's just a great reflection of everybody and the vibe attracting the tribe. So
for sure. Is it my turn yet?
It's your turn. All right, I'll shut up.
All
Your
right,
turn. First question, go.
All right. Well, I've got a handful, but I'm trying to think. If I were to ask you one defining moment in your career that led you to where you are today, what would that be?
Just one, huh? Okay. One defining moment that in my career, not life, but career, it sounds
Nope.
like.
I will open it up to life. And I will let you have two. So you can give me one life and one career.
Okay. I got you. All right. I'm going to say, let's start with the life one first. Defining moment in life. A lot of you that know me have heard this, and probably many of you haven't. I'm going to go back to my sophomore year of high school. I'm like, oh, Lord, here this guy. What is he doing? He's living his glory days out. No. Stay with me though. Because if you think back, those are some of the most formidable years of our lives when we're like figuring out who we are and all sorts of crazy things going on. Here's what happened. So my background, obviously being baseball, in high school, it was a sophomore year playoff baseball game against Sherrard. And there was a typical Midwest thunderstorm that blew through. I lived in Illinois. And so second inning, the umpires ended up calling the game, right? Now, our coach at the time was yelling at us players to pick up the equipment because it's raining cats and dogs, thundering and lightning. He's like, get the equipment up, get inside the gym, let's go. And apparently we were probably screwing around. I don't know. But he was flaming pissed because I don't know what we did. Maybe we just didn't get the equipment in quick enough, jacking around, who knows. But by the time we got into the gym and he sits us down, he just starts ripping into the team. And at one moment, he points his finger right in my face. Now, you can't tell. I'm a big dude. I'm 6'6". I was public about the thought of me wanting to go on and play college and pro baseball and all those things in a town of 700 people in the middle of nowhere. Okay. So he puts his finger right in my face. He says, none of you will ever see the inside of a college or pro stadium unless you buy a ticket. Those were his words verbatim. Now, as a young dude, I had a choice. I could say, coach is right. Nobody from the school has really ever gone on to do anything like that athletically. And I could believe that narrative. Or I could do what I did, which is put the chip on the shoulder and say, no, 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 no. I'm not going to let some old washed up third string catcher who gave up on his dreams try and talk me out of mine. And so from that moment, I dedicated myself entirely to the sport. And as the story goes, I've seen some pretty cool stadiums. Why does that matter? Well, the story for so many years stopped there. It was like, nah, 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 boo, boo. I did it anyways in your face. But then I got wiser. And I realized actually the gift inside of that moment wasn't, well, I proved you wrong. No, no, no. What he did was lit this flame inside of me that still, I just can't extinguish it. That I will never be that person to someone else who says you can't do something. I'm going to be the encourager. I'm going to be the coach. Hello. I'm going to be the person that pours life and belief into other people. I now see the gift in that moment was actually that passion he gave me that directly correlates to what I do for a living today. Right. So that's story one. A little bit long-winded, maybe. Story two on the professional front. Oh my God, there's so many, Steve. But I'm going to say a story of resilience, being tested, and how bad do you really want this thing? Because we're all going to get tested. I guarantee you've been through some things that you just want to throw your hands up and say, is this really worth it? Well, that was back in circa 2018, 2019 for me. We were growing like a weed with Locker Room. I was at a big box franchise at the time. Ran up to over 200 offices that we were supporting with the Locker Room, and Big Brother politically didn't like that too much. I was seen as a runaway freight train. I was seen as a competitor to the internal coaching company that this particular company had. And I wasn't trying to take anything away. I was one of the good guys, but it's just a friction point of how two different people saw things. Long story short, there was a lot of moments there, a lot of getting called to the principal's office, a lot of accusations, a lot of rumors, a lot of just things that were causing a great deal of stress on my family. And I remember going to, actually, it was a Tony Robbins UPW event in Chicago. And that was my defining moment, because Tony asked, I can't remember what it was, but what I wrote down on the page in response to his question was something like, Jake, keep doing what you've always done. Keep your heart and all these things aligned. Keep doing what you've been doing, because it got you where you are, and it's going to get you through the most challenging times. And I circled that. I highlighted. I needed to hear myself say those things to make it through some of the darkest moments when there was a lot of mudslinging going on. And I'm just proud to say we kept the main thing, kept the people, the mission, the vision first above all else. And that was able to drown out the noise. And here we are today, better off, stronger, more agile than ever before because of it. So
that's awesome.
Those are my answers.
Now, I know this is your show, but do I get a follow-up question?
You do. Yeah, there you can.
So have you ever thought that maybe that coach was such a good coach, he knew to light a fire under you, he pointed at you and said that you will never be able to do this, to put that chip on your shoulder? You kind of owe the coach. If he didn't do that, you would have just been hitting home runs here and there, but you would never have gotten it to that next level. He put the chip there.
Have I
so
ever...
you technically owe that coach.
I did call him later and thank him, but he didn't remember he said that.
That's funny.
I did actually do that because, no, I never had considered giving him that benefit of the doubt, because he's also the same person my freshman year in a newspaper article that said, the problem with Jake Dixon is that he just doesn't have enough varsity experience. Well, no shit, Sherlock. I'm a freshman. Like, what? So
man, you should have made varsity in 8th grade. I don't know what to tell you.
I guess so. Put me in,
Okay.
So
it all worked out.
Man, thank you for the question. Yeah, it's really interesting. I think anybody listening to this right now, and I've got a similar question for you coming up, by the way. I want you guys to sound off. If you're watching this, put in the comments, what is a defining moment that you can look back on and say, wasn't exactly great going through it, but now that I look back, it actually helped define and shape who I am today. And there's a bit of gratitude there because of it. I'd love to know that. If you guys are watching this, leave a comment. And that's just a couple in my own my own life for sure. All right. Well, that was a good first one, buddy. That was
great. Great answers.
Deep question, deep thoughts. Okay. You ready for my next one?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. My next one is, I'm going to ask you to kind of like crystal ball this thing, even though nobody does. Let's just go 3 years out. I'm not going to go 10 or 5 or something, like 3 years out. My question is, what advice would you give to real estate agents who are watching this right now so they remain relevant and at the center of the relationship, the center of the transaction into the future? Because you and I both know there's technologies, softwares, companies trying to replace the agent, let's say. So what advice would you give agents right now to stay relevant and at the center of everything for years to come?
Good question. I think the absolute most important piece of any type of business, sales, whatever it is, it's all about relationships. And, you may not have been in business that long. This might be your first year in real estate, but you've established these relationships, right? If you're that agent, you're a good agent, you're a trustworthy agent. It's honesty, integrity. That's the most important characteristics of an Acropolis agent. And I think at the end of the day, it's all about relationships. So yeah, your first year in real estate is going to be the absolute toughest. And you might take a few months before you get that first deal under contract. It might take 6 months before you get your first commission. But all of a sudden, it's like a snowball. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And by the time you're 3 to 5 years in the business, those people that you treated great on that first deal, it's all going to come back around. Whether it's going to be them or a friend or a relative, they are going to refer their people to you because you treated them great. And it's the follow-up. It's not losing. This is not a one and done transaction. A lot of agents get the deal done. It's a transaction. They get their commission and they say, cool, thanks, see you later. At the end of the day, the agents that are super successful are still cultivating those relationships, and they become friends with their buyers and their sellers. And that's why they want to continue to use them year after year after year. And that is the most important part, is establishing those relationships, working on those relationships. This is a relationship business. So the most important part is treating people right, and they're going to remember that.
So couldn't have said it better myself. Some of the best advice I've heard in a long time. You guys take note of that, hit the rewind button, write it down, whatever you need to do. There's a lot there's truth to what Steve just laid out for us. I'm curious, what is your thoughts around the integration of something like AI, for example, without losing that relationship or personal connection?
It's a great question, because AI is all over now, right? And you're like, all right, like, is somebody actually texting me, or is there AI virtual assistant texting me? So AI is super important, right? And we're going to have to stay ahead of the curve, and it can be super useful, especially when it comes to saving time, right? Time is your most valuable asset. So AI can absolutely take care of all of those mundane tasks in a much shortened period of time. So everything that's super personal, you need to remain a human. You need to remain a human for those personal relationships. And yes, use AI, use these tools to help save you time. But when it comes to that birthday text, or had their first kid, or whatever it is, it's got to be you. At the end of the day, it's that human-to-human interaction that's so important. And all those tools are super important. Use your CRM, use your AI. That makes life easier, but it's the human interaction that is going to keep agents relevant.
I hope people just heard that, because you got a lot of people trying to sell you programs using fear tactics like, oh, those who don't adopt it are going to get replaced by it. Well, actually, and I agree with 100% with what you just said, if we use AI to replace us in those moments, then yes, it will. But if we don't, and it's more of the operations and efficiencies and all the fun stuff that it can do, then we'll be much more productive so that we can be more present inside of the relationship itself. Right? It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Last thing I heard recently, I don't know where it was, but something like the NAR report that came out from last year showed like a total of about 90% of the surveyed clients were SOI or referrals. So kind of like warm, connected leads. 90% of the sales.
For sure.
Which leaves roughly 10% for kind of the cold stuff. buying online leads and so on and so forth. And now I'm not against it as long as you're getting an ROI, but like everything a lot of these companies are trying to sell you is such a small piece of the pie, the 10% that represents the number of transactions versus the 90% that they're not going to touch because they can't sell that back to you. They can't sell the relationship back to you that you have as long as you keep it, right?
Yep, exactly. Yeah. It's keep it in touch. It's not hard. And it's a touch point here, touch point there. Hey, congratulations on this. Happy birthday. It doesn't matter what it is, right? They are going to remember you and how you treated them during that sale. That's it.
Wise words, my friend. Very good. That's good stuff. Thanks for that.
But still use your CRM.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. I'm here for it. All right, your turn.
Ooh, okay. What is the biggest mistakes that you see agents and or brokers make, and how can they avoid them?
Okay.
Because you've trained a lot of agents.
Yeah.
So what is the one thing that agents, may not do exactly right, or one thing that they're missing, a mistake that they've made that they could avoid and should avoid, and how can they do that?
Okay. You said and or broker. So I'm gonna take a stab at trying lumping both agents and or broker owners, leaders into my response. So what I would say is, actually, I'm going to give everybody an acronym. I like acronyms; they're easy to remember. Write down this CRM. Actually, CRMs, just like Steve was talking about. Yes, use your CRMs. But not what you're thinking. CRMs, in this case, is an acronym to answer your question. I believe number one, what they get wrong that they need to get right is consistency. The C stands for consistency. I see across, and I'm guilty of it, right? We all are. It's human nature, but it begins with awareness because awareness is transformation. So the lack of consistency of agents following up, nurturing their database, lead generating, so on and so on, puts them on that roller coaster ride. And it's so preventable. Same thing with broker owners, whether it's re-recruiting, aka retaining their own agents, recruiting new agents in. The lack of consistency is just completely toxic, and it leads to a lot of disengagement, a lot of frustration, and as we know, an 87% failure rate of our industry. Again, all of which could have been prevented. So the C is consistency. The R stands for relationships. I don't even need to try to repeat everything. Rewind the tape 3 minutes ago and listen to everything Steve just said, right? So that's the R, is relationships. Only thing I would add, I believe in a post-COVID era and one where social media and AI is just dominating everything, my belief is not worrying so much anymore about building your database, your influence wide, but rather deep. Let it take root. Really get to know the people. I have two people I work with. One has a database of about 330 people, he told me. He closes about 60 homes a year. The other one has a database of 300, and he closed 39 homes last year. Translation, you don't need a big, aka wide database necessarily to achieve great results. They have meaningful, real relationships with 300, 350 people, and they're running laps around people who have databases 10 times their size. All right. The M in CRMs stands for market knowledge. Those who lack real data, real market knowledge, know how to use the language of business, which is numbers, to their advantage and tell stories and provide evidence of successes and opportunities, I think is a huge miss. And they don't wear that hat of being the local economist because they don't know their numbers. They don't know neighborhoods. They don't know average days on market for different neighborhoods and price points and so on. Be a nerd. Know that stuff. And then last but not least is the S, which stands for skill set development. I don't know, but I guess where I come from in sports and mastery towards anything, it requires practice. Yeah, I got to go to practice. And team practice isn't enough. I also got to hire a coach outside of that to get the one-on-one attention to make sure my swing is right. Okay. So I think there's a huge opportunity for brokers and or agents to practice more often, script and role play, do things like that rather than practicing on real clients. I think it's just a bad setup. So CRMs is my answer. How'd I do?
I love it. That's great. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yep. All right. I think I have one more for you, right? Yes. Pull it up. Here we go. My last question for you, sir, is similar to what you asked me, actually. So it's going to be your turn to be a little vulnerable with us here. Okay. Looking back at your own journey, knowing what you know now, what mistake, or a mistake or two, maybe a pitfall, however you want to phrase it, have you had to overcome during this journey, and what lesson did you learn from it?
Okay. That is a good one. I mean, there's been a number of mistakes over the years. I think probably my best answer to this is, and even just recently, as of last year and the last couple of years, of taking on too much at once and spreading myself too thin. I get a lot of opportunities that come across my desk, and it's hard for me to say no. As you can probably tell, I like to say yes to a lot of things. So at some point, a couple years ago, things are going great, and I just try to take on too much and too many projects. So at the end of the day, next thing I know, I'm working on 6 or 7 development projects. We're trying to grow the brokerage. I'm working on the commercial leasing and sales. I'm trying to run a property management company, all while opening up a bookstore, a coffee shop, a film studio, a marina. So all of a sudden, the Acropolis company's umbrella just became huge. And I think that I wasn't ever able to give 100% to each project that I was doing. So I think if I were to narrow it down to probably my biggest downfall or mistake that I've made is spreading myself too thin, taking on too many projects at the same time, and not being able to devote 100%. So my biggest piece of advice is, when you're doing something, you always want to give it 100%. So it may be the shiny new thing that's calling out to you, but if you cannot give it 100%, hold off until the time is right.
That's a great lesson, great advice. I'd love your thoughts on this concept. Similar to what you're saying, there's a friend of mine, Hank, if you're out there, I credit you for this. He introduced me to this years ago, and he called it destructive abundance. Because we, as entrepreneurs, it's a blessing and a curse, man. We want to say yes to everything. We like to move and shake and have variety.
It's hard to say no, especially if it's a good opportunity.
Right. And yet, when is enough enough? And when is too much actually become destructive, to your point? Because you can't handle all these. You can't spin all the plates. So was there ever a moment that when you were saying yes, because in your heart of hearts, you thought you could handle it all, you're saying yes for all the right reasons, but it came back to bite you? Was there a specific case of like, this suffered, or this didn't end well? I'm just asking for it. Is there any more juice behind that?
Yeah. And so unfortunately, you have to prioritize, right? Yeah. So, okay, which projects need to get done? And then unfortunately, there's projects that get slid to the back burner. Right. And I'm going to talk about one that I'm super excited about, and we're coming to the finish line. So there is a good, happy ending at the end of the story, but my cousin's lifelong dream is to own, it's called XBA Sports. If you remember back in the day, they had, it's called Slam Ball on TV. It was basketball with trampolines.
Oh, yeah.
So we watched it when we were kids, and we're like, man, this is great. So he ended up meeting the founder at some point. I think it was like 2008, 2009. And he's like, we are going to bring this sport to the masses. So before, it was a professional sport only, made for entertainment, TV purposes. And then the patent ran out. I want to say it was 10 years left, so 2019. So this is like young Steve saying like, oh, man, this is awesome. So this wasn't like, all right, one more thing in the till. Right. 2019 rolls around, and he was serious. So he's like, hey, man, he goes, all right, I'm ready. You ready? And I'm like, all right, let's do it. So we started, and the next thing you know, it's like, I've never built a basketball court with trampolines before. So we're hiring engineers. We're now getting retaining walls. And like, there's a lot that went into it, coupled with the fact that the piece of property that we bought had wetland issues that we had to work around. Like it was just everything that could go wrong went
It was
wrong.
like a money pit. Yeah.
And so next thing you know, it's like we're spending money, you're spending more money, then the budget doubles and then triples. And here we are in 2026. So we started this, we bought the property in 2020. 6 years later, we will now officially be open in hopefully 30 days to get this thing. So it's a happy ending, but it's one of those where unfortunately that got put to the back burner because my real estate in central New York took precedence and I had to focus on those things over the last year or 2 years when that project was supposed to be finished. But yeah, and just similar to like, I always want to try to give back. So I found myself, I think I was on 6 or 7 boards last year. And I found myself just running around like crazy from board to board, meeting to meeting. And then I realized I'm not giving 100% to each one. So I was like, let me pick my top 3 that are my boards that I believe the most in and give my all to those. So that's where I'm at right now.
Last follow-up. I don't mean to stretch this out too much, but like if I'm listening to this, I'm probably shaking my head like, yeah, no, I say yes to everything. I'm a people pleaser. A lot of people in our industry can likely resonate with what you're saying. Is there just a tip, a hack, something you've learned of how to develop that discipline or develop that muscle of saying no, or at least not right now? Like, how do you filter that? How do you make those decisions?
I'm not the one to give advice on this because I'm the worst.
Yeah.
And I'll give you an example.
Well,
another board that I was on, the executive director would come in. He lives in New York City. He would come in once a month. We'd get breakfast, and they're a tenant in my building. And I knew the ask was coming. I knew I was going to be on the board, and I spent all night thinking about how I wanted to nicely word that I just don't have time. So I had my canned speech ready to go. I'm like, Mr. So-and-so, I'm so flattered. I really appreciate you asking me to be on the board. I knew the ask was coming. So then I got through all of that, and I basically gave my 20-second pitch of like how flattered I am, but I just don't have the time. And he goes, Steve, we only meet 3 times a year. I think you're all he had to say was like one thing, and I'm like, all right, I'm in.
All right, I'm in.
so it's tough, but you really do have to stay firm, and your time is your most valuable asset. So where you spend it, you want to spend it in the right places.
That reminds me of a meme. It's like a cartoon picture. This guy's sucking on a lollipop. Maybe you know what I'm talking about. It's like no guaranteed salary, whatever. He's like, you son of a B, I'm in. It's just like painting the
Sounds
worst.
Great.
But I'm in. Yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's good. That's great, man. You made it. So I think you've got what, one more for me, maybe?
Yeah, I've got one more for you. Okay. So a lot of my agents, and real estate means a lot of different things to different people, right? Okay. So real estate may be a means to, support your family. It may be some extra money on the side. It may be your career. A lot of my agents have other businesses that they've started. They're all entrepreneurs. So I've had agents that have opened up restaurants, wine bars, other businesses. So this is somewhat real estate related, but my question to you is, you're talking to a young entrepreneur that's starting from scratch. What is the best piece of advice that you would give somebody? And it can be in real estate or starting a business in general. What is the best piece of advice?
Great question, by the way. Never been asked that yet on this as long as I've been doing it. I'll expand on this, but it might be a little cliche. That turns out our parents, our grandparents, when we were young growing up, kind of knew what they were talking about. And it's that saying that if you do what you love, you never really work a day in your life. And so I'll just unpack that, because you could be eye rolling at me right now. But what I mean is, and truly from my lived experience, guys, we can make money doing a zillion and one things, right? Now, I go on this tangent. In fact, I'm teaching it coming up soon, where I created a class called Why Success Lives Outside Your Comfort Zone is Complete Bullshit. That's the name of the class. And now I get it in context. And yes, 2 things can be true at the same time. I get it. But there's this popular quote that whoever said, success lives outside your comfort zone. And I understand it in context, so don't come at me. But how I've also witnessed most people interpret that is it must mean, well, I hate cold calling, but after all, I got to keep doing it because it's insanely uncomfortable, because success that's where success lives. I just fundamentally disagree with that. I think there's got to be a better way. So to answer your question, I've adopted a new perspective and help other people do the same, that I created a model called your strength zone. And it's this bullseye set of rings and it's a whole thing. But the moral of the story being, identify what you're obsessively passionate about, what you're amazingly talented about. Pay attention to the things that people tend to come to you and ask questions about, or observe the patterns when somebody says, you make that look so easy and effortless. Where are those moments in your life that you can pick up the breadcrumb clues and say, maybe there's a reason people see this in me. And maybe there's a way I can monetize that. And there's a need or a service I can offer that other people would want based on my passions and my natural skills that I have from all these different areas. Prior careers that now in real estate, for example, if you were the hostess at a restaurant, well, great. What skills did you learn by being a hostess at a restaurant that you can carry with you now into real estate? Don't discount that stuff. So, man, without getting too long-winded, it's a whole training and a thing that I do to really make the point that your definition of success, you being an entrepreneur and launching a business, does not have to be outside of your comfort zone per se. I believe it can be achieved by expanding your strength zone. And last analogy I'll give for this, if dear old dad here wanted to bake my 12-year-old daughter a cake, well, I'm not a baker. Okay, I don't know anything, but I do know enough to know that if the measurements aren't exact, you're in trouble. So what would I do? Well, what I would do is I'd go to the grocery store, and when I walk in, I'm looking up at the aisle. I'm like, ooh, aisle 7. Aisle 7 is the one that has all the baking supplies. So I go to aisle 7. I look at this monster wall of all these cake mixes and brownie mixes and all these things. I'm like, I'm just overwhelmed. I don't know. I'll just pick this one. That one looks good. The reason I picked it is for what's on the front of the box. If I just follow what's on the back of the box, it's promising me I will get the result on the front of the box. That's otherwise known as a system, something that can be duplicated. And so I share that because if I just know how to follow the recipe in its order with the proper ingredients, set the oven, put it in for the right amount of temperature, I don't have to think, I just have to follow. And I believe the same is true for entrepreneurs looking to launch businesses and find success in that business, that you have the recipe for success inside of you. You just need to figure out, identify, and own what makes you uniquely you. And then, as I mentioned before, expand on that, lean into those things more, never frankly having to get so outside of my comfort zone that I can't stand it. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I sure hope so.
That was great. And also, just to hop on that, it's, if you don't like cold calling, I'm gonna get a lot of shit for saying this. I don't know if I'm allowed to say shit.
Say it, buddy. Yes, you can.
Here we are.
Our show.
If you don't like cold calling, don't do it.
Right.
What are you good at? Are you good at social media? Do more of it. Be consistent. Find your strengths and replicate what works. If it's working, stick with it, right? If you wake up every morning and you're dreading making 100 cold calls that day, and you're like picking up the phone and like, hi, Mr. Seller, like, I see your listing expired. You're not going to get the listing. If they know that you don't like what you do, they're not going to want to talk to you. If you're energetic and passionate, some people love it. Some people are really good at it. And don't get me wrong, you could actually make a lot of sales by cold calling and a lot of relationships you wouldn't have. But I ask people at young ages, they're like, well, like, I'm like, what do you like to do? It's like, I like to golf. Go join a golf league. You meet new people every week. My buddy Vinny, I don't know how he does it. And I'm like, how'd you get it? He goes, my cigar club. All of his listings, all of his relationships all come from cigars. Dude. But everybody's got their thing. Find what you like to do and do it well. That's it.
See, thank you for the validation. You are a strength zone believer, whether you knew it or not, man.
Don't tell Kristen I said not to cold call, though.
Nah, she'll get over it. No, she believes in this too. We teach this stuff, and it really, man, you nailed it. Take simple one-liner. Figure out what you love and what you're good at, and do more of that.
Exactly.
Right? There you go.
I love it.
There you go. So, Steve, you're awesome, man. I'm not quite done with you yet. Just a quick rapid fire round, 4 questions, and we'll land the plane. Does that sound good?
Okay, let's do it.
All right. First rapid fire round question for you is favorite movie.
Favorite movie? I'm gonna have to say It's a Wonderful Life. And I rarely ever watch a movie more than once. It's a Wonderful Life. Every Christmas Eve we watch it. Final answer.
Okay. There you go. Learn something new about you every day. Is there a unique talent, or maybe not even talent, but a random fun fact that not many people know about yourself?
In honor of Masters Week, I will say that I've had one hole in one on the golf course.
Okay.
And I don't want to tell you that I used a 3-wood for a 210 par 3, but it was uphill and into the wind.
Dude. Okay, there you go. You're safe. No judgment. Yeah. A hole in one. Okay. I've never done that.
I've never come close since. That was it. Yeah. I'll keep trying though.
That's good. That's good. How about this one? Favorite vacation and why?
Ooh. Definitely when my mom retired from teaching kindergarten, I promised her, I took my dad to Ireland. Dad, if you're listening, that's also up there. Great trip with the boys. My dad and brother went to Ireland. But when my mom retired, I promised she'd never been to Italy. That's the Italian side of the family. We're going to Italy. I brought my then girlfriend, now wife. We get to Rome, and I didn't tell anybody that I just happened to have tickets to the Ryder Cup. So we did a little Ryder Cup. We did Rome. We traveled up to Florence, did Florence for a few days. And then my buddy was doing an Ironman in Barcelona. So we hopped up to Barcelona for a couple of days, came back to Florence. It was an awesome trip, got mom and dad out of the country, and it was a great time. Favorite trip.
I've always wanted to go there. So thank you for that motivation. Last one for you, buddy, is there a real estate, I don't know, blooper maybe, or strangest thing that's ever happened to you, like during a showing or something? Like, there's a crazy stories if you've been in this business long. Okay. Do you have anything like that? It could be,
I got started working for a developer who had a lot of apartments and condos, and I got started selling those said condos. And I had a friend that lived in one, and I told him that I was coming from 12 to 1. I had it blocked off. I think he thought that the showing was done. The parents came back, and he had a friend over for an afternoon delight that I walked in on, and that was an interesting showing. I said, you know what? I think we're going to come back to this one a little bit later.
Yeah.
That was probably
back in what, 3 minutes?
that was interesting.
That's hilarious and frightening and all the adjectives at the same time. So
yeah.
There are some really, really amazing, funny stories and creepy stories, frankly, too, out there if you ask that question enough.
Yep.
Man, thank you so much for the time. I know how busy you must be.
Yeah, no, that was great. That was a lot of fun.
A lot of fun. Very insightful, by the way. Some great tips that you've shared. If you guys didn't catch the whole thing, definitely go back. Steve was dropping some absolute fire today for you. So, man, thank you so much. Last thing is, if somebody wanted to connect with you, learn more about ARG, is what website, what information, email, anything you want to share if somebody wanted to reach out?
Yeah, for sure. AcropolisRealtyGroup.com, and can always reach me. I'm wide open. case@AcropolisRealtyGroup.com.
Perfect. There you go. If we need to, we'll put it in the comments for you guys later once the video's wrapped up and done. So very good stuff, man. Again, thank you. This was an absolute honor. And maybe we'll do it again sometime. Hopefully, I didn't scare you
Thanks for having me. That was fun.
All right, buddy. Thanks again. Yeah. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Bye-bye.